This is course 1, lesson 47, circumference and pi. So let's just go over, first of all the different pieces of our circle, because we will have to know all of them for this lesson. So circumference of a circle is all the way around the outside. So if I took a measuring tape and I started at one point and I measured all the way around and came back to my starting point, that is your circumference, or C. Okay, if I go all the way across the middle of my circle, that is your diameter, or D. If I go halfway across my circle, okay, this is halfway across. If I go halfway across the middle of my circle, that is radius, or R. So C, circumference, all the way around. D, diameter, all the way across. R, radius, halfway across. This is going to be really important for looking at the formulas we're allowed to look at to find circumference using diameter and radius. Okay, now remember, this means that radius, okay, radius plus radius equals diameter. Okay, because radius is half of diameter. So if I add radius to itself, I make diameter. Another way of looking at that would be radius times 2 is equal to diameter. Just remember that, because that's going to come up. Okay, so the formula for finding circumference is C, circumference, equals pi times D. Okay, now remember what I said with the radius? Now, if you didn't have, you could do C 2 times pi times R. Okay, because again, if pi times diameter is circumference, then pi times radius times 2 is circumference as well, because the radius times 2 is diameter. Okay, so I'm basically just taking this and doubling it, so it'll make that. Now, I keep saying pi. This is the symbol for pi, and it is not the pie you can eat. Pi is 3.14, and there are a lot more decimal numbers. We only need to use these ones. As you get into higher level math, you might use the more decimals of pi, but we only need these ones for our purposes. So really quick way to remember pi is just pi equals 3.14. 3.14. Pi equals 3.14. Okay, memorize it, because it's something you do use. As long as you're working with circles, it's something you use a lot. So these are our two formulas. This is what pi equals. So now we're going to find some circumferences of a circle. All right, so here's our question. Sydney drew a circle with a 2-inch radius. What is the circumference? So we're going to use this one because we have radius. So our formula is C equals 2 times pi times R. Okay, that's when they're all smushed together like that with nothing in between. That means multiplication, remember. So we know what pi is. Pi is 3.4. So why don't we start this? Circumference, because we don't know that yet, equals 3.14 times, what's our radius? 2. Okay, now I can either do the full radius one and times it all by 2, or I can just say, oh, I know radius is 2, so I know diameter is 4, because radius doubled is diameter. Okay, I'm going to do the long complicated one, and then we're going to do the other one and see if it gets the same answer. So this is 2, and we're going to times it all by 2 at the end. Okay, so 3.14 times 2, I can do it this way. My multiplication, that's 8, 2, 6. I have 2 decimal places, so I have 2 decimal places in my answer, and I get 6.28. Okay, and then I'm going to times 6.28 by 2, so I do it all over again. So 16, 4, 5, 12, and I have 2 decimal places, so it's there. So I get 12.56. Okay, so that's what I got with this formula. I times pi and radius, and then I times them both by 2. Okay, so I'm just going to write that beside it. Okay, That was our answer. Let's see if we get the same answer using this formula. So this formula is just pi times diameter. So I still had 3.14 for my pi. I put that in there, okay? And I'm multiplying that by diameter. Well, our radius is 2 inches, which means diameter is double that. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So I'm timesing it by 4. So 3.14 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 4 times 3 is 12. I have 2 decimal places. I have 2 decimal places. And I get 1256. So I get the exact same answer, as you can see, just one's a little bit longer than the other. So if you get radius instead of diameter, you can still do this one if you'd like to, or you can just change the radius into diameter and do the shorter one, instead of having to do your multiplication and then do multiplication again. Now remember, this means that these two things are equivalent, okay? They'll get you the same answer, because they're talking about the same thing. You're just taking this one because radius is half of diameter, you have to multiply the answer by 2. Okay, but that's how you use those formulas, is you just plunk the numbers in wherever they need to be, and you do all of your multiplication. So the things you need to remember are these: circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times radius, because again, radius is half of diameter, so you need to double it. And that pi is 3.14 for our purposes. As I said, there are more decimal places, but we don't need to know those right now. So for right now, pi is 3.14. And that is how you find circumference of a circle, and that is what pi is. That is lesson 47 for course 1